Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is the Senate torture report again. This is going to be video 15. We'll do about 10 pages at a time because you see it's 712. But it's actually called the Report of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Committee Study of the Central Intelligence Agency's Detention and Interrogation Program. Remember, after 9/11, many suspected terrorists were detained for extended periods and tortured, according to this report. Waterboarding, sleep deprivation, standing, stress positions, that kind of stuff. I mean, among other things. Um, I don't know how you feel about it. I don't really feel good about it, but I understand there has to be some kind of consequences. How far that is, I don't know. I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not, in the CIA. I'm not in any kind of FBI situation where I would have that ability. I'm just the mom from Texas. So it's like, I get it. If something happened to my family, like what happened on 9/11, I think I'd probably have a whole different outlook on what the punishment should be. I mean, some people maybe have more grace than others. I'm not saying everybody feels that way because, you're going to have people on both sides of that, I guess, argument that talks about, oh, don't torture them, don't put them on death row, just let them live out, just in stringent conditions, but not this stringent. But anyway, let's go and get started. So we're going to start right here on 109. Okay, so it says Ramzi bin Al Shib was subjected to interrogation techniques and conditions of confinement that were not provided or not approved by CIA headquarters. CIA interrogators use the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques for behavior adjustment purposes in response to perceived disrespect, and on several occasions. Before Ben Al Shib had an opportunity to respond to an interrogator's questions or before a question was asked, the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques were applied when Ben Al Shib failed to address an interrogator as sir, when interrogators noted Ben Al Shib had a blank stare on his face, and when Ben Al Shib complained of stomach pain. Further, despite CIA policy at the time to keep detainees under constant light for security purposes, Ben Al Shib was kept in total darkness to heighten his sense of fear. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Lips get chapped. And I don't know if y'all have been able to find that John Kiriakou guy. He was a former CIA analyst and the thing became an operator, but he was the one that blew the whistle on this enhanced interrogation techniques. And he's a very fascinating guy. So you need to look him up. He's been on Sean Ryan, Mario Nawfal, I think it's Nawfal, Julian Dory. I'm trying to think. There was Dalton something. I can't think of his like Dalton. That's all I can remember is something about Dalton. I can't remember his first name because I've only watched a couple of his episodes. But anyway, fascinating guy. Lots of stories. It may be the same story just about on every single one, but I mean, still, I don't mind listening to him because he's a good storyteller. But anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that out there. Okay, so CIA psychological assessments of Ben Al Shib were slow to recognize the onset of psychological problems brought about. According to later CIA assessments by Ben Al Shib's long-term social isolation and his anxiety, that the CIA would return to using its enhanced interrogation techniques against him. The symptoms included visions, paranoia, insomnia, and attempts at self-harm. In April 2005, a CIA psychologist stated that Ben Al Shib has remained in social isolation for as long as 2.5 years, and the isolation was having a clear and escalating effect on his psychological functioning. The officer continued, in Ben Al Shib's case, it is important to keep in mind that he was previously a relatively high functioning individual, making hold on, I've lost my place, making his deterioration over the past several months more alarming. The psychologist wrote significant alterations to RBS's detention environment must occur soon to prevent further and more serious psychological disturbance. On September 5th, 2006, Ben Al-Shib was transferred to U.S. military custody at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. After his arrival, Ben Al-Shib was placed on antipsychotic medications. The CIA disseminated 109 intelligence reports from the CIA interrogations of Ramzi bin Al-Shib, a CIA assessment which included intelligence from his time in foreign government custody, as well as his reporting in CIA custody before, during, and after being subjected to the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, concluded that much of Ben Al-Shib's statements on the 11th September attacks have been speculative, and many of the details could be found in media accounts of the attacks that appeared before he was detained. In a few instances where his reporting was unique and plausible, we cannot verify or refute the information. He's been sketchy on some aspects of the 9/11 plot, perhaps in order to downplay his role in the plot. His information on individuals is not specific, and he has given us nothing on the Saudi hijackers or others who played a role. The overall quality of his reporting has steadily declined since 2003. So G, the detention and interrogation of Khalik Sheikh Mohammed. KSM held in Pakistani custody provides limited information and rendered to CIA custody at detention site Cobalt. KSM is immediately subjected to the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques. The capture of KSM was attributed to a single CIA source who first came to the CIA's attention in the spring of 2001. The source, redacted, led the CIA and Pakistan authorities directly to KSM. KSM was held in Pakistani custody from the time of his capture on March 1st, 2003 to March, redacted, 2003, and was interrogated by CIA officials and Pakistani officials. According to CIA's records, while in Pakistani custody, KSM was subjected to sleep deprivation, but there was no indication of other coercive interrogation techniques being used, while KSM denied knowledge of attack plans and the locations of Osama bin Laden and Ayman al-Zawahiri, I think is how you say it. He did provide little information on various al-Qaeda leaders and operatives who had already been captured. KSM's willingness to discuss operatives when confronted with information about their capture, behavior noted by CIA officers on site in Pakistan, was a recurring theme throughout KSM's subsequent detention and interrogation in CIA custody. Less than 2 hours after KSM's capture, anticipating KSM's arrival at detention site Cobalt, the chief of interrogations, redacted, sent an email to CIA's headquarters with the subject line, "Let's roll with the new guy." The email requested permission to press KSM for threat info right away, and later that day, CIA headquarters authorized redacted to use a number of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques against KSM. The cable from CIA headquarters did not require that non-coercive interrogation techniques be used first. On March, redacted, 2003, 2 days before KSM's arrival at the detention site, CIA headquarters approved an interrogation plan for KSM. Well, if he got there on the 1st, then how could it be March something? Redacted, 2003. Oh my goodness, what different. According to CIA records, interrogators began using the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques at detention site Cobalt a few minutes after the questions of KSM began. KSM was subjected to facial and abdominal slaps, the facial grab, stress positions, standing, sleep deprivation with his hands at or above head level, nudity, and water dousing. Chief of Interrogations, redacted, also ordered the rectal rehydration of KSM without a determination of medical need. a procedure that the chief of interrogations would later characterize as illustrative of the interrogator's total control over the detainee. At the end of the day, the psychologist on site concluded that the interrogation team would likely have more success by avoiding confrontations that allow KSM to transform the interrogation into battles of will with the interrogator. KSM's reporting during his first day in CIA custody included an accurate description of a Pakistani British operative, which was dismissed as having been provided during the initial throwaways stage of information collection when the CIA believed detainees provided false or worthless information. And there's a bunch of stuff there. Okay, on March 5th, 2003 and March 6th, 2003, while he was still at detention site Cobalt, KSM was subjected to nudity and sleep deprivation. On March 5th, 2003, KSM was also subject to additional rectal rehydration, which, redacted OMS, redacted, described as helping to clear a person's head and effective in getting KSM to talk. Oh my gosh. Okay, on March 6, 2003, redacted adopted a softer Mr. Rogers persona after the interrogation team concluded that the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques had caused KSM to clam up. During his session, KSM was described as more cooperative, and the day's interrogation was deemed the best session held to date by the interrogation team. During this period, KSM fabricated information on an individual whom he described as a protector of his children. That information resulted in the capture and CIA detention of 2 innocent individuals. The CIA transfers KSM to detention site Blue, anticipates use of the waterboard prior to his arrival. Within hours of KSM's capture, Alex Station, which was like the Osama bin Laden desk, successfully argued that CIA's contractor Swigert and Dunbar should take over the interrogation of KSM upon KSM's arrival at detention site Blue on March 3rd, 2003. CIA headquarters approved an interrogation plan indicating that KSM will be subjected to immediate interrogation techniques and that the interrogation techniques will increase in intensity from standard to enhanced techniques commensurate with KSM's level of resistance until he indicates initial cooperation. On March 2003, the date of KSM's arrival at detention site Blue, the on-site medical officer described the use of the waterboard on KSM as inevitable. The team here apparently looks to use the waterboard in 2 different contexts. One is a tool of regression and control, in which it is used up front and aggressively. The second is to vet information on an as-needed basis, given the various pressure from home versus what is happening on the ground. I think the team's expectation is that KSM will be getting treatment somewhere in between. I don't think they believe that it will be possible to entirely avoid the waterboard given the high and immediate threat to U.S. and allied interests. It is an interesting dynamic because they are well aware of the toll it will take on the team versus the detainee. The requirements coming from home are really unbelievable in terms of breadth and detail. Meanwhile, OMS completed draft guidelines on the use of the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, specifically addressing the waterboard interrogation technique. These guidelines were sent to the medical personnel at the detention center. The guidelines include a warning that the risk of the waterboard was directly related to the number of exposures and may well accelerate as exposures increase. That concerns about cumulative effects would emerge after 3 to 5 days, and that there should be an upper limit on the total number of waterboard exposures, perhaps 20 in a week. Oof. CIA records indicate that as of the day of KSM's arrival at detention site Blue, the interrogation team had not reviewed the draft OMS guidelines. KSM arrived at detention site Blue at approximately 6 p.m. local time on March redacted 2003, and I think they said March 1st earlier. So, and was immediately stripped and placed on the standing sleep deprivation position at 6:38 p.m. after the medical and psychological personnel who had traveled with KSM from detention site Cobalt cleared KSM for the CIA's enhanced interrogation technique. The detention site requested CIA's headquarters approval to begin the interrogation process. The detention site received the approvals at 7:18 p.m., at which point the interrogators began using the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques on KSM. Between March redacted 2003 and March 9th, 2003, contractors Swigert and Dunbar and a CIA interrogator redacted used the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques against KSM, including nudity, standing sleep deprivation, the attention grasp or grab, and insult slap, the facial grab, the abdominal slap, the kneeling stress position, and walling. There were no debriefers present. According to the CIA interrogator, during KSM's first day at detention site Blue, Swigert and Dunbar first began threatening KSM's children. Redacted CTC legal, redacted later told the inspector general that these threats were legal so long as the threats were conditional. On March 9th, 2003, KSM fabricated information indicating that Jafar Al-Tayyar, and Jose Padilla were plotting together because, as he explained on April 23rd, 2003, he felt some pressure to produce information about operations in the United States in the initial phase of this interrogation. On March, redacted 2003, during Chief of Deputy Chief, good Lord, I'm sorry, Alex Station, redacted, and a second Alex Station officer, redacted, arrived at detention site Blue to serve as debriefers. The detention site also reportedly received a phone call from CIA headquarters conveying the views of the CIA's Deputy Officer of Operations, James Pavitt, on the interrogation of KSM. Pavitt later told the Inspector General that he did not recall specifically ordering that a detainee be waterboarded right away, but he did not discount that possibility. According to the records of the interview, Pavitt did recall saying, "I want to know what he knows, and I want to know it fast." The on-site medical officer later wrote in an email that the CIA's interrogators felt that the waterboard was the big stick and that HQ was more or less demanding that it be used early and often. The CIA waterboards KSM at least 183 times. Oh my gosh. So KSM's reporting includes significant fabricated information. On March 10th, 2003, KSM was subjected to the first of its 15 separate waterboarding sessions. The first waterboarding session, which lasted 30 minutes, 10 more than anticipated in the Office of Legal Counsel, August 1st, 2002 opinion, was followed by the use of a horizontal stress position that had not previously been approved by CIA headquarters. The chief of base, worried about the legal implications, prohibited the on-site medical officer from reporting on the interrogation directly to OMS outside of official CIA cable traffic. On March 12, 2003, KSM provided information on the Heathrow Airport and Canary Wharf plotting. KSM stated that he showed a sketch in his notebook of a building of Canary Wharf, a major business district in London, to Amar al-Baluchi. He also provided statements about direct prospective plots to study at flight schools, and that the Jafar Al-Tayyar was involved in the Heathrow plot. KSM retracted all of the information later in his detention, and there are no CIA records indicating that these and other retractions were assessed to be false. The March 12, 2003 reporting from KSM on the Heathrow Airport plotting was deemed at the time by CIA interrogators to be an effort by KSM to avoid discussion of plotting inside the United States, and thus contributed to the decision to subject KSM to 2 waterboarding sessions that day. During these sessions, KSM ingested a significant amount of water. CIA records state that KSM's abdomen was somewhat distended, and he expressed water when the abdomen was pressed. KSM gastric contents were so diluted by water that the medical officer present was not concerned about regurgitated gastric acid damaging KSM's esophagus. The officer was, however, concerned about water intoxication and dilution of electrolytes, and requested that the interrogators use saline in future waterboarding sessions. Oof. The medical officer later wrote to redacted OMS that KSM was ingesting an aspiration, a lot of water, so it should be aspirating. That everybody makes mistakes. Okay. And that in the new technique, we are basically doing a series of near drownings. During the day, KSM was also subjected to attention grasp, insult slap, abdominal slap, and walling. On March 13, 2003, after KSM again denied that Al Qaeda had operations planned for inside the United States, CIA interrogators decided on a day of intensive waterboard sessions. During the first of 3 waterboarding sessions that day, interrogators responded to KSM's efforts to breathe during the sessions by holding KSM's lips and directing the water at his mouth. According to the cable from the detention site, KSM would begin signaling by pointing upward with his 2 index fingers as the water pouring approached the established time limit. The cable noted that this behavior indicates that the subject remains alert and has become familiar with key aspects of the process. CIA records state that KSM yelled and twisted when he was secured to the waterboard for the second session of the day, but appeared resigned to tolerating the board and stated he had nothing new to say but terrorist plots inside the United States. Prior to the third waterboard session of that calendar day, the on-site medical officer raised concerns that the waterboard session, which would be the 4th in 14 hours, would exceed the limits included in draft OMS guidelines that had been distributed the previous afternoon. Those draft guidelines stated that up to 3 waterboard sessions in a 24-hour period was acceptable. At the time, KSM had been subject to more than 65 applications of water during the 4 waterboarding sessions between the afternoon of March 12th, 2003 and the morning of March 13th, 2003. Jeez. Wow. 4 sessions. Okay. In response to a request for approval from the chief of base, CTC attorney redacted assured detention site personnel that the medical officer is incorrect, that these guidelines have been approved and or fully coordinated. Redacted sent an email to the detention site authorizing the additional waterboarding session, despite indications from redacted that the detention site personnel would receive a formal authorizing cable. No such authorization from CIA headquarters was provided. At the end of the day, the medical officer wrote redacted OMS that things are slowly evolving from OMS being viewed as the institutional conscience and the limiting factor to the ones who are dedicated to maximizing the benefit in a safe manner and keeping everyone's butt out of trouble. The medical officer noted that his communication with redacted OMS was no longer viewed with suspicion. On the afternoon of March 13th, 2003, KSM was subjected to the 3rd waterboard session of that calendar day and 5th in 25 hours. CIA records, noted or note that KSM vomited during and after the procedure. Shortly thereafter, CIA headquarters began reevaluating the use of the waterboard interrogation technique. According to a March 14, 2003 email from an interrogator who was not at detention site Blue, but was reviewing cable traffic, the overall view seems to be that the waterboard is not working and gaining KSM's compliance. The deputy chief for the CIA interrogation program responded in agreement again, or adding that against KSM, it has proven ineffective and that the potential for physical harm is far greater with the waterboard than with the other techniques, bringing into question the issue of risk versus gain. The deputy chief further suggested that the waterboard was counterproductive, stating that we seem to have lost ground with KSM since progress made at detention site Blue, and as a result, the CIA should consider the possibility that the introduction of the waterboard interrogation technique may poison the well. The email in which these sentiments were expressed was sent to redacted the CTC attorney overseeing the interrogation of KSM. And despite these reservations and assessments, the waterboarding of KSM continued for another 10 days. Wow. On March 15, 2003, KSM was waterboarded for failing to confirm references and signals intercepts on Al Qaeda's efforts to obtain nuclear suitcases. Subsequent signals intercepts and information from a foreign government would later indicate that the nuclear suitcase threat was an orchestrated scam. KSM was waterboarded a second time that day after failing to provide information on operations against the United States or on Al Qaeda nuclear capabilities. During the waterboarding sessions that day, the application of the interrogation technique further evolved, with the interrogators now using their hands to maintain a 1-inch deep pool of water over KSM's nose and mouth in an effort to make it impossible for KSM to ingest all the water being poured. At one point, Swigert and Dunbar waited for KSM to talk before pouring water over his mouth. Ugh. On the afternoon of March 17, 2003, and into the morning of March 18, 2003, redacted and redacted OMS exchanged emails with the medical officer at detention site Blue on the waterboarding of KSM. According to redacted, the waterboard interrogation technique had moved even further from the SERE model. Redacted also wrote, truthfully, though, I don't recall that the WB or the waterboard produced anything actionable in AZ, so I was the beta any earlier than another technique might have. This may be different with KSM, but that is still as much a statement of faith as anything else. Since we don't seem to study the question as we go, it's been many more days of constant WB repetitions with the evidence of progress, through most of them not being actionable intel, but rather that he looks like he's weakening. The WB may actually be the best, just don't like to base it on religion. I don't know what that means. Okay, so on March 18th, 2003, KSM was confronted with the reporting of Majid Khan, who was then in the custody of a foreign government, regarding plotting against gas stations inside the United States. Information that KSM had not previously discussed. In addition, or in assessing the session, detention site Blue personnel noted that KSM will selectively lie, provide partial truths, and misdirect when he believes he will not be found out and held accountable. On the other hand, they wrote that KSM appears more inclined to make accurate disclosures when he believes people, emails, or other source material are available to the USG for checking his responses. That same day, KSM provided additional information on the Heathrow Airport plotting, much of which he would recant in 2004. KSM also discussed Jafar Altair again, prompting the detention site personnel to refer to the all-purpose Altair, who KSM has woven into practically every story, each time with a different role. After KSM had included Altair in his discussion of Majid Khan's gas station plot, KSM debriefer redacted wrote in an email that today Altair's working with Majid Khan. Yesterday, the London crowd. The day before, Padilla. You get the point. Beginning the evening of March 18, 2003, KSM began a period of sleep deprivation, most of it in the standing position, which would last for 7.5 days or approximately 180 hours. Whew. On March 19, 2003, the interrogators at the detention site decided to waterboard KSM due to KSM's inconsistent information about Jafar Altair's passport. According to CIA cables, after assuming his position on the waterboard, KSM seemed to lose control and appeared somewhat frantic, stating that he had been forced to lie and make up stories about Jafar Altair because of his interrogators. KSM then stated that his reporting on Altair's role in Majid Khan's plotting was a complete fabrication and that Altair had been compromised as an operative and that as a result, Altair could not be used for a terrorist operation. In response, the interrogators told KSM that they only wanted to hear him speak if he was revealing information on the next attack. The deputy chief of Alex Station, redacted, later told the inspector general that it was around this time that General Interrogator Dunbar stated that he had not seen a resistor like KSM and was going to go to school on this guy. According to CIA records, the interrogators then devoted all measures to pressuring KSM on the single issue of the next attack on America, including attention grabs, insult slaps, walling, water dousing, and additional waterboarding sessions. On March 20th, 2003, KSM continued to be subjected to the CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques throughout the day, including a period of intense questioning and walling. KSM was described as tired and sore, with abrasions on his ankles, shins, and wrists, as well as on the back of his head. He also suffered from pedal edema. I guess his legs may have been swollen or his feet, resulted from extended standing. After, I've never seen it said that way, but okay. After having concluded that there was no further movement in the interrogation, the detention site personnel hung a picture of KSM's sons in his cell as a way to heighten his imagination concerning where they are, who has them, and what is in store for them. Let's see. The waterboarding of KSM on March 21st, 2003 and March 22nd, 2003 was based on a misreading of intelligence provided by Majid Khan by Deputy Chief of Alex Station, redacted. According to a cable from the CIA's redacted, Khan, who was in foreign government custody, had stated that KSM wanted to use 2 to 3 unknown Black American Muslim converts who are currently training in Afghanistan to conduct attacks on gas stations in the United States, and that KSM was interested in using anyone with U.S. status to assist with this operation. Upon receipt of this reporting, redacted wrote in an email, "I love the Black American Muslim at AQ camps in Afghanistan. Mookie KSM is going to be hating life on this one." However, her subsequent questioning of KSM was not based on Khan's actual reporting, which was about potential operatives already in Afghanistan, but rather something Khan had not said, that KSM directed him to make contact with African American converts in the United States. According to CIA records, in a contentious session that lasted for hours and involved the use of CIA's enhanced interrogation techniques, KSM flatly denied any efforts to recruit African American Muslim converts. KSM was then waterboarded. Later in the day, facing the threat of a second waterboarding session, KSM relented and said that maybe he told Khan that he should see if he could make contact with members of the Black American Muslim convert community. The CIA interrogators then returned KSM to the standing sleep deprivation position without a second waterboarding session. The next day, March 22nd, 2003, interrogators subjected KSM to intense questioning and walling. But when KSM provided no new information on African American Muslim converts or threats inside the United States, he was subject to additional waterboarding. An hour later, KSM stated that he was ready to talk. He told the CIA interrogators that he had sent Abu Isa al-Brittani, probably al-Brittani, to Montana to recruit African American Muslim converts, a mission he said he had been prompted by discussions with the London-based sheikh whose guards had families in Montana. KSM also stated that he tasked Majid Khan with attending Muslim conferences in the United States to spot and assess potential extremists who would assist in the gas station plot. In June 2003, KSM admitted that he fabricated the story about Abu Isa al-Brittani in Montana, explaining that he was under enhanced measures when he made these claims and simply told his interrogators what he thought they wanted to hear. In August 2003, KSM reiterated that he had no plans to recruit or use Black American Muslim converts operationally. In December 2005, he denied ever asking Majid Khan to recruit converts or attend Islamic conferences. So I'm going to stop it here. I may try to get another one put up. These are just long documents, but I mean, it's just interesting. To me, it's interesting, kind of fascinating to look into the past to see what was going on and then how this was revealed, like after the whole 9/11 thing. But anyway, I will talk to y'all later. Have a good afternoon. Let me get this open here. All right. See y'all. Bye.